So earlier in the week, Mark Halpern in his Wide World of News newsletter had a line that caught my eye, and I spoke with Mark about it on Wednesday. He said, let's be honest, the most likely 2024 scenario right now is a rematch of 2016. He wasn't saying that in 2024 it will necessarily be Trump v. Clinton. He was saying, as of this moment, there's not a more likely scenario. It was our survey question yesterday at Smerconish.com. I asked whether people agree or disagree with that statement. There were 9,069 votes cast. The disagrees were 78.87%. Those who agreed that the most likely scenario, as of now, for 2024 is a rematch, 21.13%, I will say, of us, because that's my view. As of today, what is the most likely scenario? If there's a more likely scenario, you'll have to tell me what it is. Some scoffed when a month ago, my next guest co-authored a piece in the Wall Street Journal, which began this way: a perfect storm in the Democratic Party is making a once unfathomable scenario plausible, a possible comeback for Hillary Clinton in 2024. And yet, there she was yesterday afternoon in Midtown Manhattan addressing a crowd of New York Democrats. Douglas Schoen is the founder and partner of Schoen Cooperman Research. That's a polling and consulting firm. His past clients include Bill Clinton and Michael Bloomberg, and he joins me now. Douglas, thank you for coming back. You remember a month ago where some people said, never happen. They're not necessarily saying that today.
Well, Michael, after that speech yesterday, which was a real partisan stemwinder, I think it's more likely than not that Secretary Clinton is making it clear she wants to take on the Republicans in general and Donald Trump specifically. That was my take. I'm curious, did you see it the same way?
Well, I did, because I said to myself, and I said earlier on the program today, and I recognize that Barack Obama was president. She aspired to be president, but you don't hear Barack Obama coming out to play and speaking to the Illinois Democrats. Why else? I'll ask it this way, and maybe love of country is the answer, but why else would she subject herself to that? She doesn't need it. She could spend her time in Chappaqua. She just wrote a best-selling novel and enjoyed the process. I know because I interviewed her. Like, what's the upside unless she just wants to be considered and keep this in play?
Michael, you're exactly right. It's just politics. And look, let's be clear also, she's come under attack this week, probably because the rest of the world is recognizing what you and I know, which is that she is and will be, if at all possible, a candidate in 2024. She's coming under increasing attack for what was tantalizingly revealed in the Durham court filing last Friday. So we don't have any hard evidence of any wrongdoing of anyone beyond the two people who have been indicted. But candidly, there are many questions and many unanswered questions about the dossier still and about purported spying on Donald Trump.
But, you know, I think Charlie Savage in the Times has the most recent reporting on how Durham yesterday seemed to walk back. I'm reading into this and I'm speculating, but it seemed to me that Durham himself didn't like the way that some were spinning the court filing of a week ago today, last Friday, which was about a very narrow issue of a law firm's potential conflict of interest. So I felt that Durham wanted to set the record straight in a small way with regard to Hillary Clinton because of how this is being used against her. I know this gets complicated, Douglas, but is there a part of her that in a private moment with Bill says, oh my God, this is like Benghazi all over again. It's all bullshit. But do I really want to have to defend myself? You know her well. What do you think?
I do. The first part of it, yes, Michael. She would say in a private moment, this is just like Benghazi over and over again. But as we saw in the speech yesterday, and I know from personal experience, the second part doesn't happen. It makes her say we got to fight harder against them. And you saw also, Michael, yesterday, she made it clear to Fox News that she's prepared, at least in terms of rhetoric, to take them on. She threatened them with a libel suit.
So you see this as her increasing her desire it's not as if she says, oh, who needs it again, but because you know her, you know that this instead, how about this, invigorates her for the fight.
That's exactly right. She does not back down. She will not back down. And let us be very clear with the those listening and viewing. There are no credible allegations at this point. In fact, no allegations at all about her behavior. There are only inferences that one can draw, that some in the right-wing media did draw, about what was done and how it was done and who did it. We don't know anything at this point. And what comes out of Mr. Durham's report, what comes out of the prosecution of the lawyer, Mr. Sussman, we don't know. But I think there's a longer road to go there with that investigation. It's, after all, only an interim report. And Hillary Clinton made it clear that she's blaming Donald Trump for the whole thing. You didn't hear Durham's name at all. You didn't hear anything specific about what was filed. You just heard rhetoric and attacks against Trump and the Republicans.
So this is the part of the conversation where I have to have you put on record the fact that even though you've had relationships with the Clintons in the past, you've not discussed this with them, and the opinions you've expressed are just strictly those of Douglas Schoen. Am I right?
That is absolutely the case. They are opinions of Douglas Schoen. I have not spoken to Bill or Hillary or anyone in their camp, period. And I am being very clear, Michael, also, as a trained lawyer, I'm not making any specific allegations about Secretary Clinton, her campaign, or what she did or didn't do. I am reading the filings and reading the media from all perspectives, drawing the inferences that the press has drawn as open questions to be considered, not in any way dispositive allegations to be rebutted.
Okay, how about this? If there is a path for her, it's only because President Biden doesn't run in 2024. By the way, I happen to think he doesn't run in 2024. If he doesn't run, it's because of his age. I mean, let's be frank. Is she really the person at her age to fill that vacuum if there is one?
Well, again, you made it clear, and I agree completely, Michael, with what you said. In the absence of anyone else, and I don't see anyone else, it's certainly not Vice President Kamala Harris or Secretary Buttigieg. I don't see anyone else who's a credible alternative, and she is a woman, as we saw yesterday, of vigor, intellect, and most of all, fight and enthusiasm. So I don't think she's going away, and if she sees the same opening you see, I believe she will seriously explore getting the nomination and seek to get it if it is attainable.
How about this? Both Vice President Harris and Secretary Clinton stand the prospect of being the first female president of the United States. But in the case of Harris, she's the prospect of being the first female and of color to be the vice president. Would there be pressure brought to bear on Secretary Clinton and other Democrats to stay out of the way, lest you deny that opportunity? By the way, without Hillary, I absolutely believe that. Without Hillary, I think that there'd be pressure on Klobuchar, on Warren, on Buttigieg, on everybody, partly because the argument would be it's Kamala Harris's turn.
I think absolutely, and I think we will hear that argument made with increasing force as it becomes apparent, as I believe, like you do, that it will be, that President Biden will not be a candidate.
So if you're right, what will we see next?
I think what we are going to see is the following: continuing drop in approval for Biden and the Biden-Harris administration. That's number one. I think we're going to see a resounding defeat in the midterms. And with the resounding defeat in the midterms that I expect to see, and most commentators expect to see, I was among the first last summer to predict a Republican victory in the House and the Senate to take over both chambers. If that happens, The calls for Secretary Clinton will get louder as the poll ratings of the president and vice president continue to descend. We saw yesterday that the Senate Democrats have rallied around the administration. They're taking an approach, I think you might agree, I certainly do, that is ill-founded and ill-advised and almost certainly likely to alienate swing voters and the American people. Yet the Democrats are rallying around what I believe is a failed approach.
Wait, explain that. What failed approach do you see them rallying around?
Build back better, more spending, higher taxes, a failure to take on inflation, change policies on the pandemic without any certainty as to where we are going, a feckless and weak foreign policy that leaves Taiwan and now immediately Ukraine at risk.
Douglas, thank you so much for your willingness to come back and revisit this subject. You started the conversation. So far, you're prescient. You're looking like Kreskin. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you very much. Great minds work alike, Michael. You agree with me on everything, so that makes you far in advance of, I think, most commentators looking at this.
All right. Douglas Schoen is the founder and partner in Schoen Cooperman Research. That's a polling and consulting firm whose past clients include Bill Clinton and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. For those who missed Secretary Clinton's remarks yesterday in Midtown Manhattan, here's a bit of what she had to say.
And we can't get distracted, whether it's by the latest culture war nonsense or some new right-wing lie on Fox or Facebook. By the way, they've been coming after me again lately, in case you might have noticed. It's funny, the more trouble Trump gets into, the wilder the charges and conspiracy theories about me seem to get.
An interesting argument, right? A causal connection between Trump's fate and hers. I said yesterday, I'm sure she relishes the opportunity to run against him, and I'm sure he relishes the opportunity to run against her. Are they both right? One more cut from Hillary.
We are in uncharted territory. And make no mistake, our adversaries around the world are watching. Republicans are defending coup plotters. They're curbing voting rights at precisely the moment when democracy needs champions, when we should be standing together against autocracies like Russia and China.
Do I even need to frame any of the issues here, or should I just give you the telephone number? It's such rich fodder.